As you can see on the screen, I have found a new tool that I'm pretty excited about, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Also, a new quote-unquote Leatherman crunch on its way, and some more pretty exciting news for the new year coming up. But first of all, let's dive back into history and catch up to the present day on some pretty cool tools that lead us into this next segue. Now, when we talk about exciting and different tools, the Kershaw A100 is one of the tools that comes to mind. This is not that tool, but this is a copy of it. This is the Sheffield Crocodile. And this one right here is pretty neat in that you have the vice grip pliers, you have some inside tools, and just a pretty compact package with this knife that comes out on this side right there. This is a pretty nice tool. Even though it's not near as nice as the Kershaw, I still really like this vice grip function. Now, when we talk about vice grip pliers, of course, the Leatherman Crunch comes to mind. Now, the Leatherman Crunch, one of the cool things about it was that it was the only Leatherman that had a full 1/4 inch bit holder or driver in the back right here. And then it had some inside tools. This is a mod right here that someone sent to the channel with the hammer, but I still have the Leatherman Crunch tools that I may eventually put back in there one day. But the Leatherman Crunch was a fantastic tool that unfortunately has been discontinued. Now, when we talk about slip joint pliers, one of the ones that comes to mind is the Schrade Tough Tool, and this is one of Schrade's versions they made for Craftsman, the Craftsman Professional. This was the slip joint plier version right here. This one is in pretty bad disrepair, but I love the bit driver because this has a 5/16 nut driver, and then you can mod the Klein to fit in here with the 1/4 inch nut driver and the bits. It had a bunch of tools on this side right here. I think some of these tools were locking, as was the bit driver, and then you would push down on here to disengage the lock. Pretty neat concept. Now, the only one of these that survives to this day is actually the Gerber Dual Force, and this is a nice tool to pick up, especially when Gerber has some pretty big sales with the 1/4 inch bit driver, your file, the chisel, the knife, the saw, a bunch of pretty nice tools in a very heavy duty package. Now that leads us up to today, and as you can see on the screen, we're talking about the Belton J1 and perhaps the J2. Some of these pictures on the screen, I think will say J2, some will say J1. Apparently there's been some upgrades. A lot of these look like something that's been taken off a computer more than an actual tool, but there is a video of someone physically handling a version of this. So I do believe at least a version, a prototype, something is in existence. Now, I have hope that this will come to the US perhaps next year. It seems like maybe this has existed in China perhaps. Some of the things I know are more domestic. They are sold just within country, but I'm hoping something like this will come overseas. And as you can see by the pliers, it looks like these pliers are something more like water pump pliers. They're not necessarily slip joint. They look more like adjustable pliers, water pump pliers, something like that. And I think this is a pretty cool concept. Now, on one of these pictures, it looks like the handles look a lot better. In the actual footage, it looks like this could be a pretty cheap multi-tool. So I hope they go for a little bit more quality instead of the cheap version. It does look like it has a very long pocket clip and that it can fit pretty far down in the pocket. I'd be very interested to know in the weight and the length of the multi-tool. And also it looks like on the one side it has the Phillips screwdriver, and then it does have a very long flat screwdriver, and then a knife and a saw as well. So on both versions that I have seen, there is a clip that attaches or locks the handles together so they aren't loose in the pocket. But yeah, it's a really fascinating tool, and I'd be really interested to see if I could find some more information. I've looked online. I haven't found anything more at the moment, but if you can, make sure you let me know because I'm curious about this tool, and definitely I'm getting one if it does come to the US and test it out. Now, Decoyo has been in hot water lately because, well, they have been copying some of Leatherman's designs, and unfortunately, that is how some companies get started overseas. I think about San Martin, the watch company. They are very well respected now, but they actually started out just copying other watch designs. Then eventually they pushed away from that and they focused more just on their own designs, and they actually split off another company. So Decoyo is getting started. They have made this fan exclusive, which, yeah, you can probably tell it looks like something else you've seen. Now, the Leatherman Wave Alpha clone in this picture is not just sold by Decoyo. So if you go on AliExpress, the day camping DL7, I think maybe it is, there are some listings that are not yet available for sale, but there are some listings, perhaps some of you find those available, but in the US they are not available, but they do have pictures of it. And it seems like Decoyo has gotten their own version, their own branding of it. Now, the gentleman from Decoyo has said that he's not a huge fan of these scales. And so he's made it very clear, hey, you have to reach out to contact him if you actually want this tool. But it does definitely look very similar to the Leatherman Wave Alpha. It definitely will be a lot cheaper. The internals, I think, are basically based on some of the tools that we have seen from SQT, Day Camping, Byberry, and even Decoyo in the past. They are pretty much unchanged. It's just that the scales, instead of being metal or titanium, have now changed to something that is G10 or that looks like G10. So in other news, Decoyo is doing some pretty cool things. It is upgraded its D4 to blue, and then not only that, but you can actually get in the future a 1/4 inch pen bit that will be that you can use with that, and of course other tools as well, which I find really exciting. I think that's really neat from Decoyo. Now, not only has Decoyo made utility knives recently, but he also plans to change and mod and add a 1/4 inch bit driver to it. And so as you can see on the screen, there's a picture of that. That is coming soon. So that's another cool thing from Decoyo. Now, one of the most exciting things that I actually find is Decoyo says that they are working on a Leatherman Crunch clone or version, in that next year in limited numbers we will see it. Now, if I can, I will definitely get my hands on that. I will show you guys that. I think that's one of the most interesting things. Definitely Leatherman has some tools that are older and still have some value, but they have discarded them. And if anything, those are the tools that I would like to see come back to life. The Juice, the Crunch, the Leap, some of those tools would be really neat. Even the Flare, to see brought back in a very nicely done package. Now, just recently I did a Walmart order, and one of the tools that I was surprised to find was their Hyper Tough 12-in-1 Electrician's Multi-Tool Pliers. They do come with a 5-year limited warranty, and these are now only $10. Now, when I bought one, I think I paid around $25 or $20 or so for it, but they are now at least half price. Now, the tools in the bottom are not good. So let's just start with the bad first. There are 2 knives, and there is this one's a combo knife, and then you have a couple screwdrivers, you have a Phillips screwdriver, you have a wire puller, and then the file and the saw. The multi-tool itself, the handles, the inside tools, not good at all. It's clunky, it's heavy, it just seems bulky, not a huge fan of it. I do like the wire stripper head though, and I think that is worth the $10. So perhaps you could find a multi-tool that you could mod this. It comes with a bunch of chunky spacers. I'm not sure which one you would mod it into, but I do think it's worth keeping around for $10 in case you might find one that you like. So this is pretty nice for that aspect. Some have used the Amazon basic multi-tool wire stripper and have put that in the Ozark Trail. I don't think this one will fit. I think it's a little bit larger, but I do think perhaps there are some tools that this would fit into, and maybe some of you don't mind the interior tools, or maybe you want to mod those as well. Either way, I think for $10, this is something you might be interested in. So make sure you take a look at that. These are some of the tools that HyperTough, they have listed right here on the back. The wire hook, 3-in-1 file, Phillips screwdriver, saw, long nose pliers, wire stripper, wire loop, wire cutter, cable splicer, small slotted screwdriver, large slotted screwdriver, and the knife.